Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kane drops a bomb on Billy and Phyllis, and Audra stirs things up with Kyle and Claire. Claire vents about her grandfather's treatment of Kyle at the memorial from the Overlook. She has come to the realization that he would never accept them, and she is done attempting to change his mind. Claire believes her dad would be pleased with her today. Kyle doesn't think she will continue to be upset with Victor. She adds, "Victor broke something today, and I don't think it can ever be fixed. If Victor doesn't accept them," she says, "she'll throw him out of her life." Victor and Jordan are similar in that they both like to ruin things, according to Claire. She will no longer live that way. Kyle smiles. Audra jogs up to spice things up at this point of complete camaraderie between Kyle and Claire. Audra offers Claire her sympathy, and Kyle sternly tells her to flee somewhere else. Before revealing that she has Kyle's phone charger, Audra pretends to tie her shoe. When they were preparing their pitch to Kane, he must have left it in her sleeping automobile. Then she talks about the cocktail parties they had in France. Kyle instructs her to toss the charger because he's annoyed. After processing everything, Claire informs Audra that Nate has been helping her and her mother. Will Victor hear from Nikki? Victor gets reprimanded by Nikki at the ranch for his actions during Cole's memorial. He's attempting to ruin Claire's joy. Victor, predictably, declines to offer an apology. In dismay, Nikki crosses her arms and raises an eyebrow at him. Victor moans that Kyle had no right to be there with family today, and Eric Braden gives in to temptation. It is his home. In a moment of great satisfaction, Nikki tells him that this is also her home, and that he has no authority to control who enters and exits. She tells him that Kyle used to be a part of their family. Claire has other ideas, even if he might not want Kyle to be involved again. When Victor lashes out, Nikki reminds him once more that he was mistaken to make fun of Kyle today. She begs him to stop hating the Abbotts because she is too tired for this tiresome crap. Softening, Victor tells her that he heard her say that life is too short. When he's by himself, he grabs his phone and calls Audra to the ranch. Victor Kane reveals a secret in Kane's suite. Phyllis is annoyed by Billy's disregard for Kane's once-in-a-lifetime proposal. Billy won't take any action against those he loves until he is aware of the specifics of the plans, which include his family and his children's mother. He wonders why Phyllis doesn't care about Nick. "It's just business," she adds. Billy, who ironically recently severed his relationship with his brother, sneers about her priorities and presses Kane for more information. How will he seize control of private businesses? Kane won't disclose, but he adds that each company will become a division of Arabesque, since it seems better to speak clean now than to listen to Billy and Phyllis criticize each other. Although they would be degraded and report to him, each CEO would have the chance to retain their position. Billy finds it hilarious that Kane believes Victor Newman will report to him. As Phyllis digests the notion of Victor reporting to her, they argue. It's a fantasy, according to Billy. Kane puts pressure on him to decide. Billy only desires Chancellor. Nikki would be fired if he kept running it. "Would you just think bigger?" shouts Kane. Chancellor would be dwarfed by what he has to give. As obstinate as ever, Billy claims he doesn't require it. Billy says he's focused on reuniting Chancellor with the family in remembrance of Chance in the YNR weekly preview video. Billy wants Chancellor back to exact revenge on his mother and prove her wrong for firing him so many times. Phyllis laughs. While Phyllis leaves to answer a phone, Kane assesses Billy. Phyllis is a loose cannon, Billy informs Kane. Kane notes that others have made similar remarks about him. When he asks Billy about Jill, he acknowledges that there is animosity. Kane tells his non-brother that the most difficult thing she has ever had to do was to sell Chancellor and upset him. He is aware of this since she went to Colin's funeral, and they reunited when he became ill. Billy sulks and murmurs, "No wonder she wasn't missing me," in reference to the fictitious prodigal son returning to take his position. Melissa Ordway welcomes new family member Kane, who maintains that Jill was severely hurt by their relationship. He was the person she needed to talk to when she was ill. He explains that they reconnected because Colin begged to see her before he passed away. Phyllis returns and explains that Summer is upset over Chance, so Billy asks whether she knew he was Aristotle Dumas. What was it that I missed? Billy informs her that another individual is involved in their business situation. Jill. Although Phyllis and Kane disputes that Jill was involved in the business strategy, she is more upset that she knew he was Dumas. Billy decides to phone his mother to find out after he has a tirade about her lying. He puts Jill on a video call and threatens that this may be his last attempt to contact her, depending on how she responds. Jill is unsure of the reason behind the ultimatum. Billy informs her he's here with Kane as he turns on the phone. Didn't you know about him all along? Jill doesn't dispute it. That's what I thought, Billy rages. Jill Billy Victor pulls the plug on the day of Cole's memorial. Audra is shocked to hear from Victor at the ranch. Without further ado, Victor tells her that he believes he has an advantage over Kyle because she was unable to woo him. I dislike it. Audra maintains that she has Kyle just where she desires him. She would never share a bed with him. She just needed to get him inside her room. She had already begun to cast doubt on Claire. Tracy Bregman laments her former co-star Victor's declaration that she is spinning this and their deal has finished, saying, "We're looking at a time bomb ready to explode." He is shutting down her business Vibrante. Audra Claire drops a bomb. Claire and Kyle meet up with Victoria at the tack house, and Claire says, "I'm shutting it down now." She promises her kid that she didn't do anything wrong with Victor, and that she will take revenge on him. Claire is indifferent. She and Kyle are going through changes, and she won't waste any more time awaiting Victor Newman's blessing. It's time for them to move in together. Claire tells Kyle and her mother. Brings trouble. Billy argues Kane and refuses to answer her questions. Spoilers for
The Young and the Restless hint that the CBS soap opera will see some intense conflict soon. Billy Abbott declines to disclose the murder of Chance Chancellor to his mother, Jill Abbott. He is aware that his mother will lose it. He is more concerned about Nina Webster's reaction to the news than his mother's. Billy will request that Kane give his mother a call in order to inflict the final blow. According to YNR teasers, viewers may anticipate an awkward phone call because Kane hasn't spoken to Jill in a long time. Billy refuses to call his mom. According to previews for The Young and the Restless, Billy declines to inform Jill that Carter killed Chance. Billy is afraid of his mother's response and does not want her to place any responsibility on him. Billy is aware that Jill will find a way to hold him accountable for Chance's passing if history repeats itself. Billy's activities, particularly his scheme to seize Chancellor Industries from Nikki Newman, will seem incomprehensible to Jill. She won't take any action because she will believe her son is up to his dirty activities. Billy rarely completes anything he starts, which shows how frustrated Jill is with him. Then, if she holds him responsible for his conduct, he quits the projects and complains. Billy had nothing to do with Chance's death, but his scheme to seize control of Chancellor Industries would make Jill unhappy. For Nikki to run, she sold the business to Victor Newman. She would have permitted Billy to remain in charge of the business if she had wanted him to do so. Jill returns for Billy's showdown and Chance memorial. It appears that Jill will be going back to Genoa City for Chance's funeral. She will check in with Billy and pay her respects to her grandson. According to previews for The Young and the Restless, Billy may alert Jill of his intentions to target Chancellor Industries. Billy might even tell her about his relationship with Kane, for all we know. If he does, Jill will probably lose it since she will realize that Kane is a phony and unreliable. Kane uses the footage of Kyle and Audra's mischievous behavior to blackmail Jack? According to spoilers for The Young and the Restless, the small paw party that Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles had in her train car is long gone. Done and done. Or is it? We suspect that their interaction was captured on camera, and it would be a shame to waste all that mischievous behavior. Can we trust Chance Ashby when he claims that there were no cameras installed in the bedrooms? Nah, all day. Who's to say Citizen Kane didn't have private rooms wired? He is untrustworthy and observed his visitors in public places. Fans of YNR, let's examine this tasty sitch. Is Claire going to collapse? If Kane didn't keep an eye on his visitors while they slept in their automobiles, we would be almost disappointed. Why spoil his bad guy persona with a little civility? Would the program abandon this scandalous narrative after going to such lengths to set up Kyle and Audra for a mistake? Even though Kyle claims it was a false kiss, Audra and he were essentially nude when they made out. Diane Jenkins Abbott, his own mother, cautioned that Clare Newman would not approve of Kyle cooperating with Audra's scheme. Kyle crossed a line by revealing that Victor Newman recruited Audra to woo Cole Howard. Kyle doesn't want to add to Clare's grief over his passing. However, Kyle is in hot water if there is video evidence. If it helped him, Kane wouldn't think twice about using such material. Kane might provide the footage to Victor in exchange for Chancellor, or he might blackmail Kyle and Jack Abbott. In this instance, Victor wouldn't think twice about using the footage to sabotage Clare and Kyle's romance and get $5 million from him. Will Clare be killed by video? Stay in for all the latest information on this hot topic, as spoilers for Explosive the Young and the Restless suggest that Kyle and Audra will be dealing with more turmoil soon. Let us know your thoughts on bedroom cameras. Jill rips Billy's and Phyllis Brown's noses, as Nikki blasts Victor. According to Tuesday, August 5th spoilers on The Young and the Restless, Jill Abbott returns home to grieve for Chancellor, and Phyllis Summers swears to Kane Ashby. Regretfully, she also gets into a heated argument with Billy Abbott. Billy, Phyllis, and Kane plan in Kane's GCAC suite on Tuesday. Billy doesn't want to go after Jabot, but Kane uses his persuasive abilities. Phyllis assures Kane that he can rely on her at the same time. Phyllis has her own goals. Phyllis makes a point of being committed to Kane's goals, but is she actually taking advantage of him? In any case, Red promises to follow his instructions if Kane advances in her profession and perhaps hires her reticent son, Daniel Romalotti. Jill might be Kane's secret weapon in the meanwhile. When the former hairdresser comes to GC on Tuesday, she might be regretting handing up control of Chancellor Industries to the Newmans. If this is the case, Jill might offer to assist Kane in regaining control of the business. But what will she think of Billy's involvement? Will Jill and Billy clash? According to spoilers, Jill and Billy had a heated argument, although it's possible that some of it stems from her distress over Chance. Does anyone else find it strange that Jill would assist Kane considering that he is the cause of Chance's death? In the meantime, Nikki Newman accuses Victor Newman of alienating Clare Newman by trying to separate her from Kyle Abbott. Victor intensifies his efforts and insists that he is acting morally. He maintains that Kyle is unsuitable for Clare and will ultimately destroy her life. What comes next in Wisconsin's Genoa City? Will Nikki bring up the fact that Clare has also been harmed by Victor's antics? Before Victor permanently loses Clare, expect Nikki to put pressure on him to reconsider his viewpoint. Tell us, YNR fans, do you think he will pay attention or will he just keep trying to destroy Clare? Everything in The Young and the Restless erupts at once, bringing together characters from all over Genoa City into a fiery maze of grief, ambition, deceit, and old wounds. Clare Newman finally loses it due to her grandfather's cunning plans. Audra Charles plays puppet master at the worst possible time, and Kane Ashby drops a corporate bombshell that forces Billy Abbott and Phyllis Summers to face their deepest fears and unresolved grudges. Meanwhile, Jill Abbott's silence threatens to ruin what little she has left of her relationship with her son. During what should have been a day of solemn remembering, Clare, still reeling from the emotional pain of Cole Howard's memorial, complains to Kyle Abbott about Victor's callous actions at the picturesque overlook. She's had enough. Now that the mask is off, Clare can see Victor for who he truly is, a man who speaks only in his own language and uses family as leverage and power. Having witnessed firsthand how easily Clare may be dragged back into Victor's sphere of influence, Kyle listens intently but cautiously. But Clare is determined. Victor has shattered something holy and essential in their relationship, and she doesn't think it can ever be fixed. Clare says she will not put up with his sabotage any longer and that she will completely cut him out of her life if he doesn't start promoting her happiness, including her connection with Kyle. She says this with fire in her voice and steel in her eyes. She likens Victor to Jordan, claiming that they are both control-hungry puppet masters who only feel strong when they are destroying the things that other people value. The couple appears prepared to adopt a united stance, as evidenced by Kyle's supportive smile. However, that unity is quickly put to the test when Audra Charles suddenly appears like a thundercloud on a clear day. Audra gives Clare her condolences in that well-practiced nonchalant tone, but it's obviously a pretext for trouble. Audra stays just long enough to tie her shoe and throw a verbal grenade when Kyle abruptly instructs her to leave, pointing out that she has Kyle's phone charger from her sleeping car, the one they allegedly used to work on their pitch to Kane Ashby. She cleverly alludes to their cocktail evenings in France, leaving half-truths and suggestions hanging like blades. She is told to discard the charger by Kyle, who is clearly irritated, but the harm has already been done. Even if Claire's look is unreadable, her silence speaks louder than any response. Then, in a subtly intended contrast to Audra's manipulations and Victor's betrayals, she mentions Nate and how he has only been supportive of her and her mother. Nikki chastises Victor for his ruthless and cunning actions at the memorial while they are back at the Newman property. She correctly accuses him of putting his personal grudges ahead of his family's emotional health, and in a particularly satisfying exchange, she declares her equal ownership of the house and says he has no right to decide who is or is not welcome, especially Kyle, who was once a member of their family and is now obviously once more through Claire. In the face of genuine loss, Nikki calls his feud with the Abbotts both tiresome and pointless, and she exhorts him to let go of his long-standing animosity. Although Victor claims to have hurt her, we know that his hearing is frequently selective when it comes to anything that doesn't further his goals. Victor signals the start of another chapter of plotting when he calls Audra to the ranch while he is by himself. The atmosphere is tight in Kane's GCAC suite across town as Billy continues to have doubts about Kane's bold plan to incorporate several private businesses, including Chancellor and Jabot, under his holding company, Arabesque. Ever keen to seem indispensable, Phyllis urges Billy to put an end to his hesitation and seize what she perceives to be a once-in-a-lifetime chance, ignoring his worries about the people it would harm, specifically his family. Billy, who is already at odds with Jack and had severed his relationship with his brother, finds Phyllis's indifferent demeanor offensive, particularly when she dismisses his worries over Nick. Billy calls her out for having dual allegiances and demands more specific responses from Kane, while Phyllis dismisses it as just business. After initial reluctance, Kane eventually lays out his grand scheme. All businesses would be divided under Arabesque, and current CEOs will be degraded but permitted to continue serving as nominal leaders who will only answer to him. The idea that someone like Victor Newman would ever follow Kane Ashby's instructions makes Billy laugh almost out loud. As Phyllis silently imagines Victor answering to her with unbridled joy, they discuss the idea's feasibility and morality. Kane encourages Billy to broaden his perspective and to put aside his personal relationships, but Billy is still obsessed with Chancellor, more so, with taking it back in honor of Chancellor. Phyllis makes fun of him for this, implying that he is only pursuing Chancellor to exact revenge on his mother for all the times she questioned or dismissed him. Kane, meanwhile, assesses Billy because he senses that this is about belonging and the unresolved hurt Billy harbors toward Jill, not merely legacy or retaliation. Kane reveals that he and Jill reconciled while Colin was near death, and that she attended his burial, while Phyllis is momentarily absent, answering a call from Summer. He claims that Jill leaned on Kane at a vulnerable moment since she was severely hurt by her breakup with Billy. When Phyllis returns, the emotional powder keg bursts. Billy, sulking, discovers that Jill wasn't even missing him, that her maternal tenderness had been diverted to Kane, the prodigal not son. Billy discloses that the other person in their business plan is Jill. When asked if Jill knew he was Aristotle Dumas, Kane is evasive but denies her role in the scheme. Unable to contain himself, Billy video calls Jill and confronts her. She acknowledges that she knew who Kane was, and the stillness that ensues is heartbreaking. Billy informs her that this might be his final attempt to get in touch. Cornered, Jill doesn't defend herself. Her refusal to deny says it all. Audra, meanwhile, arrives at the ranch at Victor's request, only to be put on the firing line. Her claim that she never meant to woo Kyle, only to raise doubts in Claire's mind, does not impress Victor, who ends the transaction. He is cutting off Vibrante's funding and closing it down completely. Victor doesn't seem to care when Audra, who is shocked, screams that they're sitting on a ticking time bomb, possibly referring to footage of her and Kyle in the sleeping car. In his society, failure comes with a great price, and Audra is no longer valuable. Claire says she's finished playing games as she returns to the tack house with Victoria and Kyle. She no longer values Victor's approval. She informs Kyle and her mother that it's time for them to move in together. Victoria agrees with the choice since she admires her daughter's newfound resilience. Darker clouds gather as the parts come together. Billy declines to tell Jill because he is still furious about her treachery and is still struggling with Chance's murder at Carter's hands. He fears that she will find a way to hold him accountable for a catastrophe that was beyond his control once more. He makes an embarrassing call to Kane in an attempt to transfer the responsibility. Not only will Jill lose it over Chance, but she will also lose it over Billy's latest scheme to rob Nikki of Chancellor Industries. She handed the business over to Victor so Nikki could handle it. She would never have sold it if she wanted Billy to be in charge. In an attempt to gain influence and perhaps a job for Daniel, Phyllis keeps brown-nosed Kane. However, the true question is whether she is playing Kane or being played. Although she promises loyalty, Red is always 3 steps ahead of her and her ultimate commitment is to her own goals. The most intriguing twist follows. There are indications that Kane may have surreptitiously captured Kyle and Audra's semi-naked tryst in the train car. No one believes Citizen Kane will exercise restraint, despite the fact that he had assured Chance that bedrooms were not equipped with cameras. If this tape is real, it might give him the most leverage over Jack, Kyle, or even Victor in a trade.